Welcome to this Lacrosse Now update. I'm Travis Eldridge. Tom Eschen will be joining me in just a minute. The NLL has canceled the remainder of the regular season, league making that announcement here on Wednesday. However, it does not mean we will be done seeing NLL action this year. The league saying that it's looking into the possibility of still having a postseason when it is deemed safe again by public health officials. That would certainly be a unique situation, especially considering the differences in number of games each team has played so far. The Wings playing the most with 14 games so far this season, while the Roughnecks and Rush had only played 10 games before the season was halted. The NLL releasing this statement today, reading, quote, "With 3 weekends left in the regular season and the uncertainty about resumption during that time, we decided it is in the best interest of our players, coaches, staff, partners, and fans to remove any uncertainty. Our goal is to find the best and safest solution for the resumption of play, but what that looks like and when that occurs cannot be determined today. Our primary focus is the long-term health of all involved in the sport of lacrosse from a personal and a business standpoint, and we are consulting with our board, medical, and municipal authorities, as well as leadership in other organizations across sports and entertainment to determine when we will be able to effectively move forward. Whenever that is, we have plans in place that continue to evolve, and we will be ready to restart the process correctly and effectively." So, Tom, joining me now. Tom, when this came down, were you surprised it happened now? Because to me, it was surprising the timing of all of this.
Yeah, and the fact that we haven't heard much we heard Adam Silver in the NBA say they're not even going to make a decision until May at this point. And the same thing, we haven't heard much from the NHL, though Gary Bettman has said that he's not sure. It's not looking great for them finishing their regular season. Those are the two other big factors here for the NLL, knowing the sharing of some arenas and things like that. So I think at this point, you got to get out ahead of it for your fans and for your athletes and everybody in the sport. I don't think this was too soon. I think they probably looked at the forecast, like many of us have, and said, well, maybe it's time to start looking at what we can do for the playoffs down the road and really get set for that instead of trying to dream up this regular season that just, at this point, it just doesn't look great.
Yeah, and I think the concern probably is do we only play 2 regular season games for everybody? Like at this point, when you're looking at it, maybe you see where there's just not enough time. It's not like you're going to get the rest of the regular season in leading into the playoffs. So maybe they're just kind of cutting their losses. I would be very interested to see how you determine playoff positioning based off of the fact, like I was talking about, you've got some teams that have played 10 games. You got other teams like Philly who's played 14. And the difference of 4 games in a season of 18 is a pretty significant difference.
Right, and I don't think they would make a finished and started the playoffs with the current playoff system that they have now. You're right, Travis. I don't know how they would do that. I think maybe it would be even smaller of a field than maybe we're used to seeing or we were supposed to see in terms of the regular, in terms of if it was a full season, in terms of the playoff, maybe like a four-team semifinal deal or something like that. I don't know if they would go with a full field because that's involving a lot of dates, a lot of things that would have to happen in probably a short period of time at this point. We're looking at if they don't get back out there until hypothetically June. I know I'm just throwing dates out there, but I mean, that's still a few weeks of a process to get back in there and not conflict with other things and even next season too, you know?
And you're talking about Canada and the United States in terms of both teams and players. So you've got a lot of different local municipalities and 2 different countries you've got to deal with in terms of getting players, 2 different cities. Where are you going to play? I wouldn't be surprised if you did do 4 teams. However, the then tough thing becomes now you went to 3 divisions this year. So it's not the easy, all right, we got the top 2 teams from the East and top 2 teams from the West. You now have 3 divisions you got to deal with.
Yeah, and as you look at this league, too, something else I wanted to touch on as it expands, and it felt like NLL obviously was growing the last couple of years. They added 2 teams in the last 4 teams in the last 2 years, 2 teams each year, and then we had just heard days before this, I went back and looked at our archives, Nick Sakevich on a broadcast announced that they were going to expand to a 14th team. team. So for this to happen now for the NLL, I don't think it's necessarily going to throw them that much off track, because I think they've got some good people in that front office that are driving the growth of this league. But still, it sort of comes at a time when they were really on the upswing and not ready to plateau just yet with the growth of another expansion team starting. And the question is, will they do that next year now, knowing that the two expansion teams from this year didn't really get much of a first inaugural season? Are you going to have, in essence, maybe 3 expansion teams? We have the two that didn't finish their first season and a new one next year.
Yeah, would you be surprised if they were able to introduce a new team for next year? It just seems like the landscape's going to be really hard for expansion franchises.
I think they'll do it because, I do think that they don't want to have this entire, what's going on in the world today set them back too far. And sort of, I know you maybe want to push it back maybe another year, but I think everyone in that office has a plan for the future. And I think after this, they were saying, all right, we're going to stop anyway. Let's bring this new team in, and then we can settle down. That's just how I feel, that the way, what I've heard from Nick Sakevich and how they've been talking for the last few years now. I don't think they're going to say, well, you know what, despite the fact we only had half a season or whatever it was, we're still going to move on. That's why they're still talking playoffs. Maybe that's sort of in their mind too.
I think they want to crown a champion.
Yeah.
My question will be, does it really hold the same amount of weight crowning a champion if you just pick 4 playoff teams out of the top 4 win percentages at this point right now?
Probably not. I would say it deserves an asterisk, and we'll see how it looks for other leagues too. I mean, what kind of playoffs they get, and how worthy and how legitimate these championships are. I know some people are going to say, yeah, I mean, they beat who was in front of them. That's a championship in one way, shape, or form. But does it mean as much as what Calgary did last year? I don't know.
The intriguing thing you mentioned, a lot of these franchises are associated or play in the same buildings as NBA and NHL franchises. The question now is the NLL just the first domino to fall in terms of ending regular seasons here prematurely. Tom, appreciate the time. This has been a Lacrosse Now update. We'll see you tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, Thursday, Lacrosse Now.